"I remember well the splendour of their banners," he said. "It recalled to me the glory of the Allies in the hosts of Beleriand. So many great princes and captains were assembled, and yet not so many nor so fair as when Thangorodrim was broken, and the elves deemed that evil was ended forever, and it was not so." Welcome to Tales of Ada, where we discuss and explore Middle-earth. Today we will in-depth explore the War of Wrath. The War of Wrath, or the Great Battle, was the final conflict in the Wars of Beleriand, fought between the host of the West and the forces of Morgoth. The war lasted for more than 4 decades, from 545 to 587 of the First Age. After more than 5 centuries since the rising of the sun, Morgoth had become mighty in Middle-earth. The elves of Beleriand and the 3 houses of the Edain had mostly been slain or captured. Those who escaped were scattered and were not strong enough to defeat the power of Morgoth, greatest of the Valar. As Mandos foretold, no power of the elves could defeat Morgoth. Following the fall of Gondolin, the few survivors protected by Ulmo had escaped the city. Among them was Erendil, son of Tur and Idril. The refugees fled to the mouths of Sirion, where dwell the remnants of the elves of the Falafrim. Erendil later married Elwing, the daughter of Dior and Nimloth, and became the lord of the people living in the mouths of Sirion. With the aid of Círdan the shipwright, he built the vessel Wingalot, and Erendil sailed the seas. While Erendil was returning from one of his voyages, the remaining sons of Fëanor attacked the havens when Elwing refused to give up the Silmaril. Then Elwing cast herself into the ocean with the jewel. However, the Silmaril was not lost, as Ormod bore her up from the seas, and she took the form of the great white bird and was reunited with Erendil. Erendil then sought to look for Valinor once more, and, wearing the Silmaril on his brow, traversed past the enchantments of the sea, and he came to Valinor, the first half-elf to do so. He was brought before the powers of Ada, and he delivered the errand of the 2 kindreds, begging the Valar to pardon the Noldor for their arrogance and selfish deeds. The Valar were moved by Erendil's plea, and his prayer was granted, and thus the host of the Valar prepared for battle. Their host included many Maiar, along with the Vanir, whose leader was Ingwer, and Finarfin, the younger brother of Fingolfin, also came with the Noldor that were in Valinor. Eonwer, the herald of Manwë and the greatest of the Maiar, was at the head of the host. They sailed in the ships of the Falmari elves, or the elves of Aqualonde. Still sorrowful about the first kinslaying, the Teleri did not participate in the war. Meanwhile, Erendil and Elwing were given their judgment, as it was decreed by Mandos that no mortal should step foot in Aman and live. But Erendil was also of elf lineage, so Manwë forebode punishment for the 2, as Erendil came out of love of the 2 kindreds, while Elwing came out of the love for him. However, they would never return to Middle-earth again, and would be given a choice of which kindred their fate should be judged together. Elwing chose to be counted among the Eldar because of Luthien, and Erendil chose alike. Then the Valar took Wingalot, hallowed it, and it sailed through the sky with Erendil at the helm and the Silmaril bound upon his brow. We will hopefully do a video about Erendil soon. The host of Valinor landed in Beleriand in 545 of the First Age, and the whole power of the throne of Morgoth was gathered. The arrayed armies of Morgoth were uncountable. The entire north was aflame with war, which subsequently caused heavy damage to the land by the colossal exchanges of power from the 2 combatants. The battle between these 2 forces were deadly and long, for no one could gain the upper hand. Eventually the forces of Morgoth were defeated, the barracks were destroyed, save a few who fled and hid themselves in the depths of the earth, and the armies of the orcs perished. While the 3 houses of the Edain fought with the forces of Valinor, many other men fought and died alongside Morgoth, which led to their scorn by the elves. As the war carried into its final years, Morgoth faced defeat, and so unleashed his last desperate assault the winged dragons, which had never ever been seen before in Middle-earth. The host of Valinor was taken by surprise and overcome by the devastation the dragons brought, and they were driven back across the region. The greatest of these dragons was Caligod the Black, the largest and most powerful dragon in history of Arda, and the damage this dragon conflicted on the Valar was grievous. The skies erupted with lightning and the flame of the dragon's arrival, and Morgoth's host repulsed the host of the Valar, pushing them away from Angband. As the situation grew dire for the Valar, Erendil came with his skyship Vingolot, along with the Rondor and great flocks of eagles, and they fought the dragon. After the fight lasting a full day, Erendil slew Ancaligond, and with his fall, Ancaligond broke the towers of Helgadream. With Ancaligond slain, Morol was renewed, and the host of the Valar retook the ground that had been lost. The majority of Morgoth's other forces were soon defeated, survivors driven to the depths of the world and to places far underground. Soon Morgoth's power was dispersed and entirely, and Angband alone remained his only stronghold. Morgoth fled to the deepest dungeons of Angband, where he was caught. By this point, Morgoth's power had weakened considerably, and rather than challenge his foes, he demanded peace and parley. But his feet were hewn from under him, and Morgoth fell upon the floor. He was bound with his old chain Angainor, and the two Silmarils, still in possession, were taken by the Maya Eonwe and guarded. In the end, the Valar thrust him through the door of night, beyond the walls of the world, into the timeless void. By now, Beleriand had been greatly damaged and destroyed. Not much grew here, and the barren and desolate landscape. Beleriand finally sank beneath the waves. Eonwe, the herald of Manwë, summoned all the elves of Beleriand to depart Middle-earth and go to Valinor. Most of the Noldor and Sindar did so, but a number of them did not, and instead went east. Examples of these were Galadriel or Gil-galad. Maegor and Maegor sent word to Eonwe of their claim to the Silmarils, but they received the reply that they no longer have any right to the Silmarils, due to the deeds wrought pursuing the oath. Despite this, the two sons of Fëanor stole the jewels from Eonwe's camp, but as they held the jewel, it burned their hands. Their pain was great, so Maegor cast himself and the Silmaril into a chasm of fire, and Maegor cast his jewel into the sea. In the end, the Silmarils found their homes in the high heavens, the earth, and the deep waters. The Edain were rewarded for fighting with the Valar in the struggle against Melkor, and they were given new land to dwell in that was neither part of Middle-earth nor Valinor. The land was called Andor, the land of gifts, but the Edain named it Elena, and later Numenor. The men that fought with Morgoth fled east into Harad and Rhûn. The dwarven cities of Nogord and Beregost were ruined when the Ered Luin was broken, forcing their populations to flee. Sauron, the chief lieutenant of Morgoth, surrendered to Eonwe. He was ordered to return to Valinor and receive judgment. Instead, he fled and hid in Middle-earth. And so, by the help of the Valar, the black foe of the world, Morgoth, was defeated in what was the greatest and longest war fought in Beleriand and Middle-earth. Thank you for watching. If you would like us to do more in-depth wars from the Legendarium, comment below.